citizen-centric services in a transparent manner. So, a lot of brainstorming, a lot of process reworking happened, and finally, the National Informatics Center here and the Panchayat and Rural Panchayat department here, we identified 11 Gram Panchayat functions to be offered electronically based on needs and priorities. Our state has close to 13,000 Gram Panchayats, and these are in brief the services. Birth and death registration services, remember, these are all at the Gram Panchayat level. Earlier, Mee Seva also had birth and death registration, but they were commissionerates, municipal commissionerates. Now, we are extending it even to the Gram Panchayat level. Now, house tax, then trade licenses, water tap connections, both for regularization and new connections, and building permissions. Okay. Building permissions up to 9 meters Gram Panchayat level without technical approval of the Directorate of Town and Country Planning, but for 9 meters and above, the permission technical approval of the Directorate is required. Then you have layout permissions, property valuations, okay, marriage certificate, and then mutations, okay, change of name of landowners, okay, no objection certificate for establishment of industries, and the NREGS job cards. These were the 11 services which we rolled out just 2-3 months back in the e-Panchayat portal. Remember, these services are offered across the state in all internet centers. Okay. Since Mee Seva was also a nice government facade for government services, we also included this 11 Panchayat services in the 4,500 odd Mee Seva centers in our state. Now, before the e-Panchayat, only around 600 Gram Panchayats were providing registration and house tax collection services, and that too in a manual fashion. But post e-Panchayat, that is in the past 2-3 months, these 11 certificates, these 11 services are offered through, as I said, internet caves and in Panchayat offices also. The e-transactions recorded here, that is very important, because this has to be ported to the e-Thal website, because the e-Thal website is a e-transaction aggregator, and whatever has happened here should reflect in the National e-Thal portal. Now, there were several issues with relation to integration. Now, in your own states, wherever you have started Mee Seva like projects, these integration issues becomes important. So, I just thought I will point out a few. The integration of the services with Mee Seva required. Okay, the NIC had suggested us this methodology. The Mee Seva operators, okay, in all the 4,800 centers, they register with their credentials in the digital Panchayat portal, okay, and the Mee Seva office will verify these credentials, and later on they authorize the operator to offer these services. This two-step procedure, it was used to prevent misuse. And the Mee Seva operator collects not only the statutory fees for the Panchayat service from the citizen, he pushes this online to the identified account, okay, and then he collects a transaction charge of ₹10 per transaction. You see, the difference between a category A Mee Seva or a category B Mee Seva is, there we had 25 rupees, 35 rupees shared between so many stakeholders. But in the e-Panchayat service, none of the, because the transactions do not come through the Mee Seva portal, okay, there is just the login IDs, the operator can offer this service, that is all. The transaction does not get aggregated into the Mee Seva portal. So, only the ₹10 per transaction goes to the village level entrepreneur. Otherwise, the Mee Seva office or the department, they do not get the revenues here. What are the problems? Okay. The first major problem is there is no integration between the digital Panchayat and the Mee Seva portal. Thus, at least our office, we will have no control, no monitoring on the number of transactions that are happening in the digital Panchayat portal. And so, management information system reports, that will also not be available, which we have for other services. Now, this enables us good monitoring. Okay. Now, this monitoring aspect is a bit weak here, and we need to use the payment gateway of the digital Panchayat. For Mee Seva services, we have our own gateway, but for e-Panchayat services, we have to use the gateway of the digital Panchayat department. Now, this naturally leads to delay in submission of the applications. because the operator has to go to that pathway, that gateway. Reconciliation issues will be there, a process of refund in case of failed transaction, that also becomes an issue. And besides 4,800 Mee Seva kiosk, okay, where we have public private partnership, we also have around 180 E-Seva centers which are run by the government. Now, these transactions e-panchayat will not be able to offer in the urban E-Seva government, the e-government centers, though we are working on them. So, what has been the performance of e-panchayat services in the state? As you see, it has just started gathering steam. Out of 13,000, only around 1,300 have participated in this initiative so far, and total number of requests have been around 6,100, out of which only around 50% has been approved. Now, the top 3 services out of the 11 again remains property valuation, trade licenses and marriage certificates. The balance services have negligible demand, okay. And these online services, as I said, they are offered in all the internet centers in the Gram Panchayats, the Panchayat Raj departmental portal, our Mee Seva centers which number around 4,800, and Srinidhi, which is a parallel project with the SERP. Okay. They also offer this. This is run by self-help groups of women. And beyond Mee Seva, so far I have talked about the Mee Seva project, the 3-tier architecture, the economic performance, the awards which we won, the major issues we faced like departmental inadequacy, digital illiteracy. I also talked about the 11 e-panchayat services which we kick-started in Mee Seva, and the beginning stages of, we are in the beginning stages of this, and some integration issues are there. Now, beyond Mee Seva, what we did, we have tried to bring the Mee Seva services onto the mobile, okay, so that every citizen with a internet connection, he will be enabled to avail of this service. So far, we have around 18 services, government services on the mobile, and mobile bill and electricity utility payments are also there. We have around 2 lakhs users who are registered, okay. You see the figures, 2 lakh people queried. They wanted to know about mobile Mee Seva. They wanted to understand how it works, but the actual number of usage is only 10,000. So, why is this? Why is this mismatch? The mismatch is mainly because the citizen sees we are charging 25 and 35 again, okay, for the G2C certificate, and for a Mee Seva kiosk it is justifiable because the Mee Seva center owns the internet, he owns everything, but in a mobile the internet connection is the citizens, the infrastructure is the citizens, okay. Why should he pay so much? So, that was the logic. So, we have sent to the government for reducing these charges from the Mee Seva side, and the file is under process. So, if we charge less, perhaps the citizens might be enthused to avail more services, that is our thinking. So, this is one, and we have also initiated the redressal of grievances Meekosam portal using the same Mee Seva architecture, because it talks with all the departments. We have used the same infrastructure to also have the grievance redressal Meekosam portal, where the citizens can lodge their complaints at district collectorates online. Once it is registered online, it travels across various officers within the designated service level agreement. The attractive feature about Meekosam is that it gets escalated to the higher officers immediately, and we will be able to have an audit trail of whether the officer has really taken any action on this particular grievance. So far, around 38 lakh complaints have been registered, and this we started this somewhere around May. So, we are almost 10 months into this Meekosam project. Our analytics reveal that the revenue, civil supplies and housing, naturally, they account for 85% of the total grievances, okay. And we have a audit mechanism of the redressed grievances, where randomly we pick up those grievances that have been redressed, talk with the particular citizens and ask them to narrate about their experience, and we map it on to some numbers. So, the result is that only around 43% are truly satisfied. The satisfaction rate is 43%. We have quite some work to do. We have to go anywhere above 90 to 95% in this metric. Now, one slide on CSC2. Okay, basically from CSC1, the difference is that while earlier in CSC1 the government said one common service center for 7 gram panchayats, now the government in CSC2 says for every Gram Panchayat you should have one common service center, and the district e-governance society, this is chaired by the collector. Instead of having a director, Mee Seva or at such a top level, let us delegate it to the districts. That is the second change in the project, and more women as VLEs, that was another recommendation of the CSC2 project, and the transaction charges more should go to the village level entrepreneur. Okay, that was a few changes suggested in the project. Now, this was unsuitable for our Andhra Pradesh state, as this will mean simply scaling up the existing PPP model, and this will have little impact on government process. The reason why we are saying that this could be unsuitable is we already had a experience with CSC1, and a major problem is that a number of services are pending beyond SLA. Now, if you increase it beyond every Gram Panchayat and we are not addressing the SLA component, okay, this will mean again piling up of the. So, what we need to do, first we need to relook and make the government process but more faster, and instead of limiting it to every Gram Panchayat, we extend it to every citizen, perhaps strengthening mobile Mee Seva, and we also have online Mee Seva for those with internet connection, and this gels very well with our fiber grid project, okay, where the internet connectivity is extended to every rural household at a very nominal rate. So, perhaps these two could be a bit of a improvement over the CSC 2. Now, having talked about Common Service Center CSC 1 and CSC 2 and the massive investments that goes into it, okay, what is the developmental impact? Okay. Due to paucity of time, I will just dwell on the main contours. Okay. Basically, all evaluations of e-government projects, they focus on supply side factors. Okay. In our states, in our country too, we see the success of the project is how much we have spent on it. Yes, we have erected towers, we have erected telecom towers, we have purchased computers, we have distributed it to people, so much of expenditure has been incurred, and IT infrastructure is ready in the field. Okay. And for capacity building and training, we allocate somewhere between 10 and 20% of the budget. Now, this need not necessarily be the success side of a project, because these are concentrating only on the supply side. Demand side factors must also be considered in evaluations. That is, you should measure the social outcomes. Now, measuring social outcomes in e-government initiatives becomes very difficult, because if you talk about a corporate firm, the profit after tax, the revenues, these figures are very easily available, accessible and easy to understand. But in an e-government initiative, like factors like convenience, variety, okay, this does not have a number. So, how do you measure the success of such projects? Okay? And here is where we have borrowed heavily from Professor Amartya Sen. Okay? He talks about well-being approach in the framework of human capabilities and functioning. Basically, what he says is, every person has some capabilities which you develop, okay? Like it could be education, through play, you have a lot of physical strength, you develop that potential and you win a Olympic medal. Okay? You actualize your potential. That is the that is the nutshell what Professor Amartya Sen has been talking about human capabilities and functioning. Now, if you talk about that approach, how e-government project can create economic, political and social opportunities, okay, for people, that becomes that is where we have to focus our measurement on. What are the range of IT enabled applications? Okay? It is not just speed and convenience. In fact, in Kerala, okay, the Friends Society, which is very similar to what Mee Seva is, it started with the need to enable the women to talk almost free of cost with their families in Kuwait or Middle East, okay, Skype chat. And and this is also, though not measurable, it is a convenience. And in Professor Amartya Sen's framework, this kind of qualitative improvements also merits measurement. So, what capabilities are enabled? What people do with these opportunities? And what are the barriers to achieve capabilities? So, this is a broad framework which Professor Amartya Sen has asked us to evaluate social projects. Now, it is very difficult to put all these four in measure. So, what we did in our Mee Seva project, we took one measurable metric, and that is the earnings of the village level entrepreneur. Look, you are employing so many VLEs in the field, okay, either through a PPP model or perhaps through government directly, and you are investing them with a social status, and you are also earlier they used to tend cows and do similar kind of menial work in their society, but now they have got a social status. They run a internet center, and that too it deals with government certificates. Okay. So, that is the social status which we have invested, and they also earn sizable income. So, this table tells us what they have earned. Okay. This is culled from our Mee Seva departmental server. So, I am talking about these statistics with a very high degree of accuracy. Let us concentrate on 2014-15. The average monthly income from selling government to customer services is around 5,300 rupees. From B2C, like payment of utility bills, electricity bills, it is around 3,100, and the average monthly income is around 8,400. Okay, the average monthly income, and we have been employing 4,500 plus village level entrepreneurs for our Mee Seva kiosk. So, this income directly translates to something like 380 crores. You see, when we are measuring the GDP of our state, typically the earnings of this particular strata of society does not get counted. Okay. So, and you also see people with this kind of income, they spend all their money on consumption items. So, consumption is a very important. If you use the consumption method for measuring the state level GDP, then the consumption of village level entrepreneurs through this income becomes a sizable contribution to the GDP. Now, this is what I have mentioned, and this is what I have explained. Coming to the last part of the slide, okay, I want to focus your attention there. For 2015, the percentage of income from selling government services, it is around 63% for the VLE, whereas she or he gets a income of only 37% from the B2C services. If you remember, this is exactly opposite of what the government of India had in mind earlier. When they floated the CSC project, they wanted the village level entrepreneur to earn 65% of the revenue from selling B2C services. That is because the village level entrepreneur over a period of time, they have to become sustainable. They should rely less and less on government services and more on B2C services. Anyway, not only we have enabled VLEs to earn, we have also generated, the Mee Seva office also generated several other businesses. Okay. One is the cash collection services in all Mee Seva centers. Remember, we have 4,800 Mee Seva centers spread all over the state, and every day there is a collection of 2 to 3 crores of rupees every day. This has to be collected, put in a safe and transmitted to our bank. Okay. And when we asked public sector banks to help us with this, they demanded us that we should give them some service charge for this. When we rolled it out on a competitive bidding, private sector banks said that we will offer you 40 to 45 lakhs per month, and we will do this service for you. So, this is a change when we think about doing things in the PPP model. Then we have big data analytics, okay, all the Mee Seva, how people feel, people's sentiments, perceptions. Okay. For this analysis, several companies have offered to do these services. Okay. So, this also has a business potential. We are also planning to have eKYC, okay, the know your customers, which comes as a package, and you sell it off to banks and other interested customers who want this information about customers. Okay. So, this revenue business potential is also around 50 lakhs per annum, and of course, this comes with the speed, convenience, satisfaction levels of all the e-services. Now, due to paucity of time, I thought I will skip this. I just these 2 slides. Assessment of property tax is a very important popular service, and the workflow. This is what I have mentioned. Anyway, I will skip it through, and here is our conclusion. Despite a countrywide low level of digital literacy as reported by United Nations, Mee Seva services are popular in our state, okay, which is supported by quite a number of research studies. It is not only popular in our state, even the Telugu diaspora all over the world, okay, they know well about this service and it is quite prestigious. And we require massive amounts of digital literacy programs to sensitize the citizens and officers on the usage of ICT and to achieve the full potential of e-government. And in these digital literacy programs, there is a big role for students and faculty of engineering institutions. Why engineering institutions? Because of their focus on ICT. And finally, we are envisaging abolition of government certificates in the future. Okay, already we are done away with some 14 to 15. And remember, these government certificates, they give us revenues to the Mee Seva office. Now, if this goes away, if these are being abolished, there will be no takers for the service, and this will affect the viability of the Mee Seva centers. You see, we are running it on a PPP model, and if the partner, the private partner feels that there is no viability in this center, then to that extent we are curtailing that service for that population. So, this is something which we need to strategically rethink. Okay. Thank you. I am now open to questions, and participants are free to ask any questions on the presentation or otherwise. Participants are open to ask questions and clarifications over phone on the presentation. So, are there any clarifications or questions which from the participants? First of all, did my presentation go through? అంతే అనుకుంటా. క్లోజ్. థ్యాంక్ యూ.